Welcome to The Right Focus, a podcast for writers, newbies, and veterans, and everyone in between. We're hosted by Emma Lee with the assistance of Remy Black and Edie Rooms, all from Writers Inc. Books. Our focus is productivity, process, craft, and tools. Each episode lasts as long as it takes to fix a quick dinner, drive a short commute, or take a brisk walk. Resources and links are in the show notes. Visit us at therightfocus.blogspot.com. Now, on to this week's episode. We've reached the end of July, 2/3 of our summer writing challenge. How are you doing on your summer goal? Share your progress in the comments. In this week's episode, our talk is with cozy fantasy mystery writer Elle Hartford. We start with a quick tip on creating reader magnets, and we conclude with our check-in. Let's begin. Quick tip number 9, loss leaders. As we focus on our main project, we need to consider how to draw readers to our work. Taglines, great descriptions called blurbs, intriguing covers, these are essentials. Here's another, the reader magnet. Most self-publishers write a magnet shorter than their current work, which gives a taste of the world they've built. They push this short work out to readers through an email list or a book funnel or a freebie or for a cheap price. The purpose is to lure in readers with the first book and hope they continue with the series. This reader magnet is also called a loss leader. The loss leader works best with the backlist, which is other novels in your catalog. Loss leaders need to have connections to the other books in the series. For some books, finding a connected character to drive the story is relatively easy. I start thinking about magnets weeks before I finish the work. I gather up ideas and let them swirl around. In that way, the results are richer than what I would have jumped into.
Hi.
Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Absolutely. All right. So I'm Elle. I write cozy mystery with a fairy tale twist.
Mhm.
So my main series is the Alchemical Tales. That is up to 9 books now.
Wow.
Hard to believe. And then I have a couple spin-off series as well. Cozy fantasy, sweet romance, all set in the same world.
I'm amazed that you have so many books with single characters. As ma- I had 3 books with a single character and the ones around her, and I was
Mhm.
thinking, and I don't know where else to take her. I did wind up doing 5 short stories, but I've sort of just let her go off to India, and I've gone and pursued somebody else.
Fair enough. I, in my case, I think the secret is it's at least with the Alchemical Tales novels. Each story is also a retold fairy tale, so
Mhm.
that keeps it feeling new to me, I think.
Okay. So is your recurring character like it's not a fairy godmother, or how do you make them recur?
The good question. So the main recurring character, sorry, she's an alchemist.
Mhm.
She is my amateur sleuth, right? So cozy mystery, that's how we tie the series together.
Right.
Her kind of fairy tale archetype is Little Red Riding Hood. So her nickname is
Oh.
Red. And she just has a knack for getting herself into trouble, as most amateur sleuths do.
So you saw the challenge that I had with staying with a single character.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that segues us very easily into our topic for today.
Mhm.
So, how
Yeah.
do you see, what are some challenges that you encounter in writing?
Okay. So And forgive me if I.
I'm stop. I've got to stop you. I love your earrings.
Oh, thank you so much. I wanted to be kind of on point, right? My husband got me those. All right. So for me, the biggest challenge, actually, it's a little bit um big picture, big perspective. So I'm sorry if I go too wide. But for me, truly, the biggest challenge is trusting myself in writing. So for me, I'd always been a writer, will always be a writer. That's just part of me. But being an author has really been an exercise in learning to trust myself, um, not only for the actual writing part of it, so like, you know, trusting myself go to have the ability to write in different genres or to stick with a series for so long. I had so many doubts at the outset about that. And then that blends over to the publishing side too, of like being able to put myself out there, trusting that, that I have something that's worth sharing, was just a really big hurdle and has been really part of my personal journey as well.
Hmm. So it's overcoming something very similar to imposter syndrome. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, and I've done my fair share of blogging about that for sure. Yeah, because I think to some extent we all feel that, right? And
yes.
it's so funny that we all go through these periods of doubt, but we all think we're the only ones,
Yeah,
you know?
yes, it is. I had dreamed of writing and publishing so many years that when I finally started publishing my books, and I went the indie route, when I
Hmm.
finally started publishing them, I was like 6 books in before I stopped long
Mm,
enough to have the sort of imposter syndrome creep up on me and go like,
fair.
you don't know what you're doing. You have no
Oh,
idea what you're doing. Why are
yeah.
you even doing this?
Oh, I know it well. Absolutely. And it's so funny because to some extent I'll still feel those feelings for every new book that comes out because I'm self-published as well, right?
Mhm,
Which is wonderful because I have full control of the
mhm.
schedule and the cover and all these elements, but also that can make it hard because I'm the only one. Obviously there's editors and feedback and all that, but like the buck stops with me. So
And you don't have a rooting section going behind you like, I'm desperate for
yeah.
the next, I'm desperate for the
Yeah.
next, I'm desperate for the next. You're going like, is anybody reading these? And then,
Oh, I
and then,
know.
then you'll have coffee money come in. You go like, okay, somebody's reading.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It grows slowly but surely.
Yes, yes. And I think you're helped by maintaining the single character of your alchemist because people start reading that character and they want to read more and more of that character.
It's so true. And it's so funny too, because that's one of the things that I always loved about cozy genres, not just cozy mystery, but cozy fantasy as well, is the community. So the main character, of course, but the community of characters around them too. And I have found, yeah, people do come back not just for Red, but for she has a talking dog named William who's very snarky.
I
And
would be there for that.
I know, and that's especially what people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I loved William in this one. Yeah.
You're going like, what about Red? What about
I know,
Red?
I know,
She did something really special. Did you not notice?
I know. But it's all right. I think there's a little piece of me in every character. So if just one of them resonates, that's totally fine.
Well, I'm in the process of writing a novella, and I'm going to turn from this to writing a short story. But I've got a novel lurking out there that says, "Okay, you need to write me. I'm next. You need to
Hmm.
make me next." And I know I'm hesitating with that because I'm going like, do I remember how to write a 75 to
Oh,
90,000 word novel? You know,
yeah.
can I do that? When I first wrote my first short story, I had the same thing. Can I write short? Because
Oh,
I had
yeah.
written novels first. And so you do worry about that. And
A
I
hundred
find
percent.
I find that difficult. The simple craft of doing different lengths.
and different
Absolutely.
genres. Yes.
Yeah, no, I have found that too. I'm in the same similar boat where even when I was writing just for myself, not to publish, I just thought of myself as a novel writer. I was writing long things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but some of the very first things that I had published were short stories, and there was a lot of worry about, yeah, like, is this gonna land right? Are people gonna know what's going on? Like, can I do this in so few words? Yeah, and it's one of those things where as much as you hate hearing it, it's just like a practice makes perfect sort of deal, right? Like
Yes.
at this point, because I am friends with some folks who publish anthologies and have done some anthologies with
Hmm.
Sisters in Crime, I'm pretty comfortable with the short stories now. But yeah, when I started out, it was terrifying.
Yeah. Do you find yourself hesitating when you move from length to length or from genre to genre?
At this point, because I have been practicing and been keeping at it, um, it's become easier. Also, I will say, because I'm the sort of person who like really likes to think about things ahead of time. Like I'm not necessarily a plotter. Like I'll still discover things as I go along.
Yeah.
Um, but I before I begin writing, I want to have a really firm idea of at least the character,
Yes.
like the main character and like and kind of where we're going. So that really helps me switch gears, I think, taking that moment to, you know, uh, refocus, maybe you could say.
Yeah. I try to start off, if I have a good idea of my character,
Hmm.
know I know what the mystery is going to be, and I can
Hmm.
come up with some sort of theme or a tagline, then I can launch into the story and go.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
when I first started, though, I started outlining, trying to
Hmm.
block out all my scenes. And about book six, I blocked and I could not write anything else.
Sure.
And I did that with the one that I'm currently working on, Big Mistake,
Mm.
um, because I hadn't done anything like that in 4 or 5 years. And I said, I'll do that. People say it's faster. No, it's not
I
faster
know.
because I lose curiosity. And
Ah.
apparently, I need to discover the story as it's happening in my
That's
brain.
such a good point. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's part of the thing where you have to be able to trust yourself, A, to be like, no, okay, that process works for someone else. It doesn't work for me. I can do my own
Yes.
thing. And yeah, trusting yourself too to be able to let go of the outline. Yeah.
I just need an arc. I know where it's going to end.
Yeah.
I definitely know where it's going to end.
Yeah. I know.
But I may go sideways before I get there.
You're right. Well, and I worried so much when I started because I had always, again, writing for myself, I had always done kind of like fantasy, adventure, romance. I hadn't really tried mystery before, and I found that very intimidating when I
Mhm.
started, having to have all the clues and it all has to go somewhere.
Right, right. I think somebody I interviewed in the early winter
Mhm.
months, probably early February, they were saying that they don't even plan the murder. They just let
Oh,
it happen.
okay.
And I'm going
Ooh,
like, well, the person who's solving the murder doesn't really know what's going to happen
I
either.
know. Yeah, so that
Uh,
makes sense.
it makes total sense, but I don't think I could do that.
I know.
I have to have certain things. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm constantly going back and, something will happen and I'll go back like 5 or 6 chapters and slap a sticky note down.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
can remember that I need to work that in there.
Oh,
At some
I
point.
absolutely do that. Because I write in Google Docs and I'll make a little comment on the side.
Mhm.
They have like a suggest comments function.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I make heavy use of that.
How else do you see challenge occurring in your writing or with your writing process or with the craft itself? Do you
Mhm.
try to avoid dialogue tags? People keep saying, Nick say, dialogue tags. And I'm going like, you have to keep up with people, especially when you have three in a scene.
Oh, I know. No, I love dialogue tags, I must admit. But this is good because this ties into the challenge for sure. I have, let's see. So my main series is written from first person, right? My
Hmm.
sleuth is the narrator.
Right.
The romance series jumps between two different points of view, right? You have your
Hmm.
two love interests and also has a third character because she's like the matchmaker who writes the prologue.
Hmm.
And then I have another series of short stories for my newsletter that's from a wholly different perspective. So what I'm getting at is a challenge that I find is making sure that each narrator sounds different. And some of them, I find just really lend themselves naturally, like their voice to dialogue tags, or maybe
Hmm.
because like some people will be like, you can only use said, never say anything else. But I have some characters who are a little bit more flowery, who will use all kinds of dialogue tags, and some of them who are more just straight to the point, like
Hmm.
focused. But yeah, the challenge, yeah, keeping them very distinct because they're distinct in my head. I just want to make sure they come across, you know?
And I can keep track of the paragraphs, or if I get lost, I can go back and count. Okay, this person was talking. They're still talking down here. I don't need a dialogue tag. But then I think, well, if I got confused, is the reader confused?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the last thing you want, right?
Yes,
I
exactly.
read I read somewhere, I can't remember where I read it, but good writing makes sense to the people you expect to read it. And that has
Yes,
always stuck with me,
yes.
regardless of what you should or shouldn't be doing. If you if your reader is still with you, that's the main thing.
Do you
At
see
least,
any other challenges with craft or process or anything like that?
mm, yeah, and this maybe going from wide to very, very niche, but because I write in fantasy worlds,
Mhm.
even with my cozy mystery series, it's set in a fairy tale town, which is a little unusual. Like we have paranormal cozies, but they're usually set here still.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
still have that base of reference. So I have fantasy world. I have a big challenge in terms of making sure that, again, that the reader is with me, that they're comfortable and that they um, have enough of a feel for like the parameters of the world that we can like build from there. So like my challenge is like world building in the first chapter, even on the first page, getting people situated.
right.
That's something I think about a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And it's been good practice with the short stories. Like I've done it over and over and over and over because I always try to write a novel or a short story so that someone could pick it up without having read anything, and follow. Um, but it's still something that challenges me.
Right, right. Now, you said something earlier. You said something about having a short story in your newsletter. Do you write short stories for your newsletter?
I do. Not all the time. But I do. Last year we had it was once so I do my newsletter twice a month. So once a month I'd send out a short story and they were serial. They built on each other.
Hmm.
Um so that was one short story a month, which was also a good challenge. You know?
I
Even
might cross my eyes trying to get that done.
I know. Fortunately, that character, like she was kind of like cozy noir, if that's a thing. So she was very straightforward, very short to the point, and her
Yes,
stories tended to be pretty short. So that was fun.
yes.
But yeah.
Did you collect those? Did you bundle those somehow?
I did. I did. And in fact, I just got the print copy. I was so
Yay!
excited. Like, yeah. It's so fun seeing books in print.
Yes, it is.
Uh,
Holding them in your hands is like
mm,
reality.
yeah. I know. I love every single one,
Hmm.
which I know I'm sure people get tired of me like, posting on social media or in my newsletter being like, "Oh, here's my new book. I just love it. I love this one. I love it. I love it. I love it." But I love them all.
I know. People say, which is your favorite character? And I'm going like, all
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What's your favorite book? Every single one.
Well, I like this one because, and I like that one because, and this one is sort of
Mhm,
like this, and that one's the,
mhm.
and their eyes glaze over. You can see their eyes just glazing over. They were expecting
Yeah.
you to say one title or one character's name.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's the real challenge is having to pick favorites.
I would think that would be impossible to do.
Yeah, yeah. Not necessarily as worthwhile a challenge as some of the other ones.
That is true. That is true. Because who can actually sit there and go like, okay, I prefer this book over all the others that I have written. There's no way.
No.
No way.
Mm-mm. No
Uh,
way.
no way. Do you have anything you would like to promote? This will air, it's either the end of July or the 1st of August. So is there anything you specifically want to promote?
Okay. Well, and this is so bad. I'm so behind. To tell you the honest truth, I just recently got back from my honeymoon, uh,
Oh,
which is,
congratulations.
thank you, so exciting. But the upshot is that like my writing schedule is all over the place. I can tell you for certain that the next Alchemical Tale, Red's next adventure, will be out definitely end of summer, probably August.
And a
Uh,
title? Do you have a working title yet?
yeah, working title is Labyrinth of Crime.
Ooh, I like
Yes,
that.
thank you. So that one is we're playing a little bit with Greek mythology
Yeah.
in that one. That'll be really
Any
good.
Minotaurs?
There is obviously Labyrinth. There is a character who is Minotaur-esque. I haven't decided how far we're gonna go down that road because I do have a
Right.
fantasy world, so I can do fantasy creatures, but we'll
Yeah.
see how beastly he is. Yes. So I'm afraid I can't direct you to like a certain date or a link, but I can promote at least my newsletter because that's where I'll be sharing the information first.
Okay. Great. And that's on the link that you sent me for your website.
Yeah, yeah, it'll pop up on my website. Absolutely. And that's lhartford.com. So that's easy.
Make sure that's in the show
Hmm.
notes.
Yay.
And that book that you just showed me, the
Mm.
Silver
Yeah.
Dot.
Yeah, Silver Deck. I know that, yeah. So that is technically my newest release right now. It's a collection of short stories following Leo, a small town reporter who starts getting tarot cards sent to her office. And it's all rather ominous as she tries to unravel who is sending her cards and why. She gets drawn into a very big mystery.
Yes. Uh, And we can find that at worldwide distributors like Amazon and Kobo and
Everywhere, everywhere you buy books.
great. That is wonderful. Anything else you want to talk about?
Hmm. In the whole world of possibility. No, I just, it's so much fun to be able to talk about writing and to share, a love for writing. It's so wonderful what you're doing. Thank you for having me and for
Oh, you're
having this
welcome.
wonderful theme too of challenge. That's such a cool idea.
And it hits everybody differently. I
Mm.
haven't found a single person who thinks of it as I do,
Ah.
because I was thinking about like setting a challenge. I'm going to write 60,000 words in these
Hmm.
2 months, and which I
Hmm.
never managed to do. Sometimes 1 month I only managed to do 20,000 words over the course of 2 months, and I'm going like, what happened? What
I
happened? You
know.
didn't do a
Well,
challenge and you hit 70,000 words. You do a challenge, you hit 20,000 words. So it's like
mhm. Sounds so familiar. I totally get
too
it.
many distractions and disruptions.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Really though. Oh, okay. I do have one other thing I can talk up if you're
Okay.
happy to. Okay. Because like I said, so indie author as well, and I am wide. And so I do offer coaching services for authors like especially, if you're just starting out, or maybe if you're only in KU and you're curious about wide.
Mhm.
There that talk about challenges. There's a learning curve to going wide.
Huge. Huge.
So I am only too happy to share what I've learned and kind of help people along that route.
And you have information on your website?
On my website, yep, there's a
Right.
tab for it.
And you said that was ellehartford.com.
Yep, that's it.
Great. Great. For a second there, I had a panic. Did she say .net? That is .com. It's like Jeff Dunham. How does that go? Do you know him, the comic Jeff Dunham?
Yeah, yeah.
JeffDunham.com.
Well, it's right. You try to stick with what people will expect, right?
That's true. All right. I will definitely make sure people see that in the show notes. So thank you so much, Elle.
Thank you. This has
And
been so
good
much
work
fun.
avoiding challenges.
Thank you. Nice.
Ninth check-in, and we're in the last week of July, minus 2 days. We're counting July 23 to 29. Where are we? Wednesday, July 23. We're in chapter 7, flying through because of the work that we've done. 1,629 words. Then, on Thursday the 24th, we finished chapter 7, flew into chapter 8, 1,437 words. And on Friday, July 25, we finished chapter 8, which means I'm caught up to my rough shape. I have 1,283 words for Friday. Saturday, July 26, into chapter 9. It's a bit of a struggle for the rough shape, but it's there eventually. However, my hand is cramping. 1,950 words is the estimate. July 27, Sunday, no work. Monday, July 28, drafted chapter 9. It's an actual count this time, adding descriptions and some motivations, which leaves the chapter at 2,378 words. Tuesday, July 29, working on a podcast script, 641 words. That gives me 9,318 words for the week. If I count the drafted chapters as only 1,000, that's minus 4,000. Total in the document, 22,643 words. The novella is coming up on its closing. Actual grand total for the week, 50,747 words, and we still have all of August. I'm only 15,000 words away from my total goal of 65,000 words. Thanks for listening to The Write Focus, a podcast for writers at all levels, hosted by Emma Lee from Writers Inc. Books, assisted by Remy Black and Edie Runes. Our focus is productivity, process, craft, and tools. Music is licensed through Audio Jungle, called Background Music Loop. Its creator is Alexander Polishchuk, known on Audio Jungle as Plastic 3. The music comes in different iterations. Show notes and resource links for this and other episodes can be found at thewritefocus.blogspot.com. Write to us at winkbooks@aol.com when you have questions, comments, and speculations. We will try to answer you as quickly as possible. By the way, we will not mind your email address. That's rude. If you find value in our content, share with your writing friends or write a review. We're small beans here without the advertising budget of the big peeps, and you can make a difference. And whatever occurs, write on.